Recently on this channel we have uncovered the chilling tales of abandoned World War II airfields, heard the stories of the ghostly figures in the mist and the sombre echoes of war. But today we have come to the mountainous area of the Peak District, to the Dark Peak in central northern England, to uncover some more stories. This time the stories of the sky and the chilling, unexplained events that have happened since.
The Peak District is Britain's oldest national park, established in 1951. It's a landscape of beauty, but also of extremes. And in the northern stretch known as the Dark Peak, those extremes become more dramatic. Harsh moorland plateaus, weather that changes in minutes, dense cloud that clings to the gritstone like smoke. The terrain here has long been feared by pilots. According to Peak District Online, over 150 aircraft have crashed over these hills, some so violently that parts were never recovered. It's a place that's been dubbed Britain's Bermuda Triangle, a region where navigation fails, fog rolls in without warning, and stories begin to form.
Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Claire, this is The Wanderlust Way. Firstly, let me say a huge thank you to everybody that supports this channel by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, donating, sending super thanks. Honestly, everything that you're doing is helping this channel to grow, and it's allowing me to continue with these adventures and sharing the stories that I find with you. Okay, so today we have another World War II ghost story, and we are here in the Dark Peak in England's Peak District to unearth some of the crashes, the stories that have happened here. We're on the site of the Bleaklow Bomber, which is one of the crashes that happened here up on the top of the Dark Peak. Now obviously some of these stories are going to be hard to hear, and they are of course ghostly, but they are of course also in memory of the many people who lost their lives up here. So if you are ready to join me on another one of these types of adventures, then please pull up a chair, because that is enough waffle. Let's wander.
Our walk begins from a little lay-by on the Snake Pass, the A57. You may already be aware, but for those that are new to the area, the Snake Pass is considered a dangerous road, especially during certain times of the year and under specific weather conditions. It's known for its winding bends, steep inclines and blind junctions. If you manage to park up in the lay-by, then good news. From here you're straight out onto the open moorland, the Dark Peak at its wildest. People make this trek for all sorts of reasons. Walkers, of course, come for the views and the challenge, but a lot of people come for the history, to pay their respects at the crash sites that are scattered across this high ground. Many of these wrecks have been lying here for decades, left as they fell. They're places of remembrance, and sometimes, if the weather's right, they're places with a certain atmosphere about them. The one we're heading for today is the most famous of them all, the wreckage of an American Superfortress bomber known as Over Exposed, and its story begins back in 1948. It was the morning of Wednesday, the 3rd of November, 1948. A giant American aircraft, an RB-29A Superfortress known as Over Exposed, rolled down the runway at RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire. This wasn't a combat mission, just a familiarisation flight, a chance for the recently arrived crew to get to know the UK airspace, the flight paths, the terrain. On board were 13 men, some seasoned, some new. The aircraft itself had a fascinating past. It had flown over Bikini Atoll, photographing atomic bomb tests, and played a role in the Berlin airlift, delivering aid during one of the tensest standoffs of the post-war years.
Now on this particular day the mission was pretty straightforward. It was to set off from Scampton in Lincolnshire and fly to Burton Wood Air Base near Warrington. It was a cold, misty morning and the journey should have taken about an hour.
But the weather was poor. The sky thick with low cloud, visibility almost zero. Over Exposed was flying in formation with 2 other B-29s. Somewhere over the Peak District, the crew believed they had cleared the high ground, and they began to descend. But they hadn't. At exactly 11 a.m, the aircraft slammed into the upper slopes of higher shelf stones near Bleaklow Head. The crash was so violent, wreckage was thrown for hundreds of metres. Locals reported hearing a dull boom echo across the moors, but for a time no one knew what had happened. The area was remote, the terrain hard to reach, and the mist never seemed to lift. All 13 men were killed instantly.
Aircraft crashed here on Bleaklow Moor, and although we're almost 75 years on, there are still parts of the crash remaining that can be found up here. It's a bit of an aircraft graveyard really, but the site, if you are looking for it, it is on Google, you can find it on Google, and it's more commonly known now as Over Exposed, which is named after the aircraft itself.
The name Over Exposed was a nod to the aircraft's work as a photographic Renaissance plane, the kind fitted with cameras to capture high-altitude images, often in hostile or hazardous situations. When the B-29 struck higher shelf stones, the impact was instant and catastrophic. Travelling at speed, the aircraft broke apart across the hillside, scattering debris for hundreds of metres. Fires broke out among the wreckage, sending low, heavy smoke drifting across the moor. The sound of the crash would have been heard by people miles away, but the location's remoteness and the thick November cloud meant it took time for recovery teams to reach the site. All 13 men on board died instantly. The US military took charge of the recovery, and the crew were given full military honours. Some were repatriated to the United States for burial, while others were laid to rest in the UK before eventually being returned home to their families. News travelled quickly through the air bases at Scampton and Burton Wood, a sombre reminder to every crew that even a routine flight in peacetime could be deadly. Here on the moor, the wreckage was left where it fell, a permanent memorial to the men of Over Exposed. Across this landscape you'll find pieces of the fuselage, engine, wing sections, undercarriage and even a gun turret. The debris covers a wide area, a stark reminder of the sheer force of the impact when the B-29 struck the hillside during what should have been a routine flight.
This place is not just a memorial, it's a popular destination for hikers and aviation history enthusiasts. But let's just not forget, it's not just a curiosity. This is an unofficial war grave and a historical site of real loss.
Many who visit leave poppies, crosses or quietly reflect. All visitors are asked to treat the area with respect and not to try and remove any of the fragments, because these pieces tell a story and some carry a memory that's still very personal.
Years after the crash, somebody looking at this very site found a wedding ring. It was tarnished, but it was intact. And thankfully, they managed to trace it back to the aircraft commander, Captain Landon Tanner, and they gave it back to his family.
One small circle of metal returned home decades after the man who once wore it never did.
Now, as always with a lot of things like this, there is a bit of a memorial, so I'll read that to you. It says, "In memory, Here lies the wreckage of B-29 Superfortress Over Exposed of the 16th Photographic Reconnaissance Squadron USAF, which tragically crashed whilst descending through cloud on the 3rd of November 1948, killing all 13 crew members. The aircraft was on a routine flight from RAF Scampton to American AFB Burtonwood. It is doubtful the crew ever saw the ground. Memorial laid by 367 Air Navigation course of RAF Finningley on the 12th of November 1988.
The wreckage at Bleaklow is a sobering sight. Cold metal, silent moorland, a scar left on the land by the sky itself. But the Peak District holds more than twisted metal and fading memorials. Something more is thought to linger here.
This part of the Peak District is known as the Dark Peak, a name that I think is very, very fitting.
It's a landscape of gritstone edges, deep ravines and wide open moorland where the weather changes in moments. Sunshine can vanish into fog without warning. The air grows still, the mist clings, and direction, even time, can start to feel uncertain.
The Peak District is, of course, a very unforgiving terrain, as a lot of places that are so natural can be. In the centuries that have passed, it has been the backdrop for many strange tales, folklore beasts, all that sort of thing, ghost stories. There have been reports of travellers that have been walking alone that have mysteriously disappeared. And it has also provided the inspiration for many artists and authors. It's a magical place, it's a wonderful place, but there's no denying there's a reason that they call this place the Dark Peak.
In the 17th century, this region was no stranger to the fear of witchcraft. In the years following the Pendle trials, suspicion and superstition ran high. Accusations of sorcery, herbalism, and dealings with the devil crept into villages near the edges of the moors. And long before the warplanes ever came, the Peak's folklore told of phantom horsemen, will-o'-the-wisps, and black dogs with glowing eyes that stalked the hills at night, omens of death.
The land here has always carried a bit of weight. Now, obviously, there's a tremendous amount of history behind it. Maybe it's the peat, maybe it's the silence, maybe it's the isolation, or maybe it's these stories that just keep on continuing.
And even today in our modern world, when the wind drops here, when the mist thickens, when the signal cuts out on your phone and the moors fall utterly still, people still see and hear things they cannot explain. A low rumble on the horizon, the thrum of engines rolling in on a current of cold air. Sometimes it's the sounds carried on the wind, sometimes they're backed up with actual vintage plane sightings. From Lady Bower to Howden Moor, from Kinderscout to the valleys above Edale, phantom aircraft, wartime machines, planes that shouldn't still be flying, and yet they are.
Reports date back to the 70s and the stories just haven't stopped. Witnesses reporting the same impossible scenes.
A Lancaster bomber soaring silently over the water at dusk, a Douglas Dakota banking low through the hills with no sound at all, a Hercules-style aircraft thundering overhead only to vanish, leaving behind no trace, no radar reading and no official report. These are not stories passed down over campfires. These are real accounts from walkers, locals, farmers, even those with military experience who know what they saw and what they didn't. Could they be echoes of the past, the final flight paths of lost crews doomed to repeat themselves in the sky? Or is there something about this land, this air, that simply doesn't let go?
Now, the sources that I found, they told me that there's been around 150 aircraft crashes here on the Dark Peak in the Peak District, with the majority of those happening during World War II, and for most of the time it's been in training incidents.
Many of these paranormal reports describe aircraft from the Second World War era, planes that shouldn't be flying, planes that perhaps never made it home. On Dr. David Clarke's website, there are multiple witness reports of strange events, including a local gamekeeper who recalled, "It was definitely a plane, and it was a big one, like an old wartime Lancaster. I could hear a loud humming noise, yet no wreckage was ever found." Then there's the story of a walker, a nurse, who shared their chilling tale. "My group had asked a Ouija board a question. The answer came, 'Where we are now, we are not at rest.' The plank gave them the names of every crew member from the Bleaklow crash." Vic Hallam, another local witness, described walking along Derwent Reservoir on a misty morning. He noticed a misty figure emerging from the water, a man in flying boots, a sheepskin collar, great coat, and his back seemed to be on fire. He just walked out and disappeared. In 2017, the Derbyshire Times reported one driver's encounter from a nearby road. "Suddenly, in front of us was an aircraft flying very low. So low we thought it would crash. Then it banked sideways and disappeared. We couldn't identify the aircraft other than it was old, and it left us quite shocked." So what do we make of all this? Are these just stories born from grief, from mist, from memory? One thing we can be certain of, this place holds a history. There's a weight in the air. Whether you believe in ghost planes or not, the wrecks across this landscape are very real, and so are the lives they represent. Each fragment of twisted metal is a reminder that these hills have claimed not just machines, but men, and their memory still lingers, in the rugged ground beneath our feet, and in the skies above. May we never forget them.
So that's it. Thank you to everybody for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Please comment below if you have anything to share, or if you've been up here before, if you've seen one of the other sites of crashes up on the Peak District. Do comment below so we can all have a read. Now, I've just got a question for you. What do you think of these stories? Can a place with such hard history hold the memories and therefore share the echoes for future generations continuing on? Are the people that lost their lives here simply not wanting us to forget them? I'm really not sure, but I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this. So please let me know in the comments, and I will thank you once again, and I will see you on next week's Wander. Take care everyone, bye bye.